My students typically call me Coach or Mr. Wilkes, right?
Yeah, but I'm not just your typical student, right? I mean,
Devon, stop.
I can be your dream or I can be your nightmare. It's up to you.
Devon put on makeup and chose to wear black for the party. At the party, she was curious about the new teacher who said he would start teaching math on Monday, making Devon wish she could take sexual education instead. On the dance floor, Devon saw Jim making dinner plans with Rachel for Tuesday. Jim found his daughter asleep. Meanwhile, Devon was keeping an eye on him through social media. In class, Jim spilled something on his shirt and had to change quickly. Devon teased the troublemakers while admiring her sporty crush. Jim announced he would be the volleyball coach, joking about a girl named Apple. He impressed everyone with his volleyball skills, which made Devon feel jealous. Jim had turned to teaching after an injury, and his ex-wife Marissa was about to become vice president in San Diego. Jim worried about his daughter wanting to move, but Bucky didn't want to be far from her. Meanwhile, Devon daydreamed about Jim, who jokingly said he would date her if she were older.
I'm definitely feeling the love.
Really? You're feeling the love?
Kinsey brought her back to reality, and they went for manicures. Thanks to her father's influence, Devon arranged to be Jim's assistant for volleyball practice. Kinsey urged Rachel to go after Jim, but she worried about losing him. The principal asked a friend of Jim to watch over Devon, giving her tasks related to team inventory and administration. Apple was puzzled by Devon's presence at the Coliseum, and Jim suggested his assistant could help her. Devon playfully teased Apple, saying she didn't even know how to play marbles. In Jim's office, Apple noticed a picture of Jim's daughter and quickly tried to learn more about her. Rachel almost caught her, but she managed to hide. Afterward, Devon got a copy of the keychain, pushing her obsessive plan forward. That night, Jim was unsure about his daughter and Marissa. He suggested relocating to San Diego for work, but Rachel couldn't leave her sick mother behind. He mentioned that her brother could help, but she was skeptical, saying kids are often ungrateful. Devon snuck into her teacher's house, while Rachel remarked that long-distance relationships were hard. While searching a desk, she discovered a credit card. Jim felt torn between his new girlfriend and his daughter, while Devon was distracted by the smell of Jim's shirts. On the drive home, Rachel was still worried, but Jim reassured her of his feelings. When Devon heard their car, she hid, feeling her dreams fading as she saw them together. She quietly slipped away after one last glance. The following morning, Jim vowed to find a way to fix things, but Rachel was firm in her decision to end things, feeling she couldn't be tricked again, especially since Jim planned to move to San Diego. At the ranch, Ray told his daughter that her new shirt wasn't appropriate for school, but she ignored him and went to show her UFO to her crush, discovering they had a lot in common with Jim. Devon asked for help with her studies and suggested private tutoring, which thrilled her and made her fantasize about marrying him. At a store, Devon looked for clothes to impress her teacher, using the stolen card to pay. That evening, she visited her dad at a restaurant and mentioned she was dating a handsome, athletic guy. Morgan then greeted Ray, making her daughter feel jealous. She proposed inviting the volleyball team to dinner to earn their respect, and Ray agreed, despite the $2,000 expense. Later, Jim studied with his daughter for the next day's class while Devon watched from outside. She signaled her teacher to support the girls and mentioned that her dad would pay for dinner at a sushi place. The teacher didn't seem impressed and said he was busy grading exams, suggesting he couldn't be swayed by food. During practice, Jim concentrated on the athletes. In the office, someone told Devon that Marissa couldn't pick up her daughter, so her father had to do it. The girl didn't inform Bucky and went to find Nick on her own. The principal called Jim to ask if Devon could take her, and Jim, confused, asked to speak to Devon, who clarified the situation. The teacher was baffled as to why she hadn't mentioned it sooner. She mentioned that she didn't want to distract him, which gave her the chance to get his approval. As she went to say goodbye to her friends, Devon quietly took a plush toy from her. Later, Jim and his daughter met at the Coliseum. He reminded Devon to keep him updated next time and apologized for making her uncomfortable. Soon after, Bucky asked if she had seen his daughter's pony, which she had just discovered under a seat. He suggested giving it to Nick. Devon invited herself over to help with homework, and Carrie told Jim about a barbecue she was hosting with friends. He agreed to attend and asked Devon to pick up ice cream for his daughter. During this, the teacher mentioned he was no longer with Rachel. She didn't like any woman getting close to her teacher. That night, Devon dressed up for her meeting with Jim. Rosa walked in without knocking and scolded her for it. The next day, the team took a bus to the game. At the Japanese restaurant, the coach expressed confidence in winning against Southland and thanked Devon for her help. Apple managed to join them, and Devon daydreamed about Jim declaring his love and proposing. Later, Jim took a picture with his top players, and when Devon asked Apple to take one with her, Apple did so reluctantly.
No, I don't think it works.
She was eager for her romantic evening to unfold. Pretending to cry, she told Jim that her boyfriend had left her for another girl. He invited her for coffee to talk about it, while Apple sensed her motives. Devon commented that Rick no longer seemed attractive, to which Jim replied that he was blind to her beauty and she just needed to have more confidence. She thought she was better off alone than with that jerk, hinting that she should be with someone older, a suggestion Jim missed because he was genuinely nice and didn't want to take advantage of her loneliness. Devon was frustrated that Jim wasn't responding to her feelings and almost kissed him, but a phone call interrupted her. Upset about the missed chance, she called Quincy to share her frustration, feeling annoyed that Quincy was too busy to listen. Quincy denied being busy, but Devon accused her of being jealous because she only dated less attractive guys. Fed up with the insults, Quincy ended the call. The next morning, the game went well, and the Marauders played great, winning and making all the girls cheer. Manzana asked Jim if he would coach the summer camp, but he said no, mentioning a possible move to San Diego to be with his daughter. Devon felt heartbroken and tried to forget her troubles with alcohol, blaming Marissa for her pain. Raiden came by and saw her drinking, but didn't say anything. Determined to confront Marissa, Devon drove by her while she was jogging one morning. Later, Jim got a call from the principal about Marissa being in a traffic accident, which shocked him. He never wished her harm and remembered their good times together during a mass, especially how they cared for Nick when she was sick. Devon offered her condolences to Jim and her support. Both Jim and his daughter were heartbroken and unsure of what to do next, while Bucky dealt with his pain by drinking. Just then, the doorbell rang. Devon showed up with a gift for Jim's daughter, who woke up to see the doll her friend brought. Jim took Nick to bed, and Devon noticed her teacher drinking and thinking about his first love. She imagined Jim feeling relieved that his ex-wife wouldn't take his daughter away anymore. When Jim woke up, Devon shared her own experience of losing her mother and feeling lost. Jim agreed but wished he could just sleep. Devon wanted to lie down next to Jim, but he preferred to be alone. Devon insisted and called him by his first name, which Jim thought was not right. Realizing the misunderstanding, he asked Devon to leave. Devon refused to accept Jim's rejection and told him to choose between being with her or making things hard for himself. Later, Jim talked to Rachel, thinking that Devon had a crush on him. She suggested he talk to the principal about moving Devon to a different class. Suddenly, Jim got a call but chose not to answer, which upset Devon. The next morning, Devon insisted that he couldn't ignore her. She told Jim he needed someone to show that his love was genuine. Jim repeated that nothing would happen between them, which led Devon to insult him. Meanwhile, Devon visited a friend at the station and shared her troubling experience with her coach, who had taken advantage of her during a trip, forcing her to buy lingerie and threatening her with suspension if she didn't comply. Angry, Wraith demanded that the coach be punished for his actions. At home, Jim opened the door to police officers who told him he was being arrested for inappropriate conduct with a minor. Confused, he asked Rachel to call his lawyer. Meanwhile, Devon was plotting more lies, aware that the girl had stolen his credit card and regretting letting her into his life. Bail was set and Jim was quickly released, now with less money and no wife, but still with a girlfriend and daughter. The next day, news reporters aired the story about the 36-year-old teacher's alleged misconduct with his young student. Rachel reassured Jim that they would win the battle, but he didn't want to be confined to his home. Apple insisted that Jim hadn't done anything wrong. Quincy urged Jim to be honest about his former best friend, but she was uncertain. Deciding to speak out, she confronted the teachers. Outside, Devon watched a staged meeting with Jim, furious and plotting revenge. She picked up Nick from school and stole the secretary's phone, telling the girl they were going out for toys. Quincy revealed that Devon had purchased lingerie to seduce Jim, but failed to kiss him during their hotel stay. This information wasn't enough to implicate Devon, as she was a star student and jurors often sided with victims. Devon then called Jim, demanding a meeting to discuss Nick's return. She offered to provide food and shared her location. When Jim arrived, she demanded Devon give back his daughter. Devon apologized, claiming she loved Jim, unlike her own father, who had driven her mother to suicide through neglect. She hinted that he could keep Nick because of her, leading Jim to suspect she was responsible for Marissa's death. Devon pleaded for a chance at a happy family, and when Jim asked if she would recant her lies, Devon agreed, eager for Jim's love. Jim consented to the plan, but it was a trap. His lawyer was listening in. Devon felt betrayed, insisting she only wanted to love Jim. Jim called her crazy and said the police would be involved, rendering Devon's pleas futile. Afterwards, Jim visited his daughter, who was with Rosa, Devon's cousin. Later, he took Nick and Rachel for a walk, and they planned to see a ballet in New York as a family, hoping to put the chaos behind them.